Wear them.
Like, what it takes. How hot do they get? Fresh out of the oven?
Whose basement
Do
is
they have
this?
frosting? How did I get here?
I almost said the wrong Jeffrey. Jeffrey Dahmer is down here. I almost said the other one.
Oh no, Bezos. Eps. Oh,
We are not recording right now. Here we are yet again, Spence. Almost like you never left.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's like you know what a time.
I have 4 o'clock tea time. I got to get out of here.
Do you know what a times?
Do you know what it is?
A time sunk.
Time suck.
Time sunk.
Sunk. No.
Like a sunk cost.
Oh yeah.
Or some sunk cost, not a time sunk. That's not a thing. Oh, like
Well, there's a podcast called Time Suck, and I was like, "Is that what you're talking about?"
I mean,
Because I do know what that is.
You're like, in fact, sunk cost is what I'm referring to.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Obviously, when you put money into something, there's no return. On it. This is the equivalent of that, but with time.
Yeah.
Time is the currency.
Time sunk.
Time sunk.
Yeah. For all the people that have just clicked away.
They're like, oh, thank you so much for telling me that we were gonna waste our time watching this video. I appreciate it. Let's see, transparency.
Yep. And so that's what you get here.
You know what you also get? You get the beginning of the podcast.
So bad.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another episode of the LeisureHub Podcast. I'm your host, and look who we have back with us yet again.
You're all disappointed in yourselves for watching this one.
Can't even keep it together. Laughing like 3 minutes into the podcast. What are these guys talking about? I don't know.
We'll never find out.
I don't know about you. Have you went on a podcast with Kelly before, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many have you recorded in one sitting? Like you record, you stop, you record again. Have you only done one?
I've only done one. Yeah.
So in the beginning, from doing this, I would record obviously 2 episodes with people, and I would get to the end of the second one, and I'm just like.
Well, I've been sitting here yawning for like 20 minutes from the last episode. I'm like, oh God, my glucose level is so low. I need
Please punch me in the face.
It's free Rita's day. I mean, come on.
What are we doing here?
I
Recording
know,
a
we
podcast episode. Let's go do
We
that.
should be sampling the Rita's flavor.
This is stupid. Let's leave it.
You know, Rita's needs to have like a flight. You could sample all the different types of ice.
Honestly, you know what? Let's get DoorDash.
I'm in marketing, so we can definitely do that.
Let's get DoorDash.
Yeah.
Have them DoorDash it here instead of recording this.
Okay, you want to know my biggest pet peeve with Rita's? Rita's, by the way, if you don't know, is a frozen ice.
Wait, who doesn't know about? Is Rita's only East Coast?
I don't know. But if you don't know,
You're like,
that's what it is. I'm just putting a disclaimer for anybody. It's
Okay.
like, what the heck are they talking about? Who's
Gotcha,
Rita?
I hardly
So
know her.
the first year that my wife, we might have been engaged at the time, I don't remember, but she goes on Free Rita's Day, goes all over the place to get free Ritas. And the first time when I went with her, we went to two, we just went to 2 locally. She'd already been to like 5 other ones. But we both got banana.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, I'm going to be daring. There's like a chocolate banana. And the chocolate banana was gross. It had like little flakes of chocolate. It just was like the texture thing was like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But the banana is amazing. And then we've never been able to find it since.
They're like, you guys like that? Cool, we'll take it off the menu.
Exactly. It's like as soon as I say I like something, they're like, oh, really? Well, we just got rid of it. It flew into the sun. I'm so sorry. It was
We knew
no
that you
banana
liked
flavor.
it, so we just wanted to remove it from the menu.
Oh my gosh. It was so.
They just have the scouts watching you every single time. Just like, is Spence here yet? Is Spence here yet? Is Spence here yet? Does he want this specific flavor? No.
We got
Okay,
a banana
cool.
alert to get rid of it.
That is strange how they end up keeping certain flavors and how they. I mean, I'm sure it's like a data pool. It's like how many cells.
Yeah,
does
I'm
it
sure
get?
the banana is probably the least liked flavor, but like we love it.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate. It's like it's been 3 years now, and like it's like you're just itching for it. You're like, oh, where's the banana?
Every night since then, man has been a sleepless night.
Yeah.
Just bananas floating in your dreams.
It's just like a gameplay of like Donkey Kong Country, like looking for banana flavor.
Collect all the bananas. That would be a great ad if they brought it back. Have just Donkey Kong just barrel through like a.
I'm telling you, I'm in marketing.
Are you in marketing?
I could help with that.
Maybe you can help with digital art versus traditional art. Maybe
you know what? Let's do it. That sounds more feasible, honestly.
Something I can wrap my brain around.
I can tangibly feel that.
Honestly, we could probably just do a whole topic around ice cream. I need to talk about a podcast episode about ice cream because I have
You should have my wife on for that. She would be able to tell you all the deals and everything. Like
I need to have my opinions heard by all of people across the land.
All 12 that listen to you.
Spence, it's 11.
Okay.
Come on. I don't know who the other person. Maybe you're kind enough to watch
I tuned in once.
There was a sitcom years ago, and there's a famous comedian. I don't remember her name is, but it was a musical type of school that they were in, and like they were really fascinated with art or like music arts, and there's this kid in a wheelchair, and she goes, there's only 6.5 people in here, and they're like, what half are you talking about?
Where's the half?
And she's like, oh, him in the wheelchair, because he doesn't count as a full person. I was like, whoa, you can say that on TV?
What? Oh
Probably
my gosh.
Can't say that today.
No.
Even though I just did.
Even though you did.
Cancels immediately.
Wow. Yeah. In fact, goodbye.
Yeah, I don't want to be associated with this anymore.
This is a bad idea.
I never told you it was a good idea.
That's very true.
Before we get too far, similarly to the last time you were on the podcast, I got a little intro for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Don't patronize me.
Okay. I can wait.
At what point do you think art is no longer considered art? Or is it just because it's created, is it always art?
Oh my.
See,
Oh.
you signed up for this.
This is gonna be a hot take for sure. Yeah, art becomes non-art when it's basically retranslated by people that didn't create it. AI specifically. I would say that like I mean, there's a difference between copying somebody for like practice versus blatantly ripping it off and claiming it as your own. Like, I think it's the equivalent of like Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you're wearing makeup and it was applied by a shotgun. That doesn't mean it looks good. It just means you have makeup on, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like art specifically when it crosses that threshold of like just becoming, I mean, it's a button click. I don't think that's art.
Yeah.
It might look interesting, but it doesn't mean it's art.
Yeah. I genuinely think that like things that are created by humans are considered art. I think there's different levels of how like there's different levels of or thresholds you can get into that, but it's kind of like what we had talked about on like the last time you were on, which was like remixing reels on Instagram and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you have to put your own creative opinion on top of that thing.
Sure.
But I think when people are doing there's two types of reaction videos, right? There's reaction videos where people actually commentate and give their opinions on something. That's still creative enough that it makes it in some type of art. But then there's other forms where people will just, I don't know if you've seen these, but where people will just cut themselves out just to like them.
You get nodding on camera. Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
And that's when you lose me a little bit. And it's like, I don't want to like crap on anyone's creative freedom and liberty, but I think my philosophy is, what are you contributing to the video that has already been said?
Yeah.
Like people will do
well, I think it goes back to what are you just trying to say?
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a statement made by art. Like it says something.
Right.
Whether it is American flag on fire or if it's or if it's a what is that machine? There was a machine in a museum that literally its main task was to squeegee up the oil spilling out of it.
Oh.
And it literally lost interest in living and died. But that was an art exhibit. It talked about like the monotony. Like things need a purpose,
right?
And I feel like art has to serve a purpose.
100%.
And I can think of some really annoying AI art. Oh man, I gotta put so many air quotes around this. This episode brought to you by air quotes.
Brought to you by Claude. I'm generated AI right
now. But like there's been some videos released, and I won't talk about. I'm sure people can fill in the blanks, but like people will put angel wings on deceased individuals. And like to me, like I understand what they're trying to say. I think it crosses a line. Like even today, like for instance, like today, Chuck Norris died. Like, it was really sad.
Rest in peace.
The first thing, I saw two headshots, like two like professional photos of him with like birth date, death date, in memory, and then the third one was a collage of AI generated shots of him from his movies, and then like a bigger one of him in the middle. I was just like, it was so insincere. Yeah. It didn't really capture him. It just captured these characters that you had known. So like, you could tell, oh, that's from that movie. That's from that movie. Mm-hmm. But it didn't have anything to say that the other two didn't.
Yeah.
Like they were more sincere because they were just about the person versus the AI was screaming, look at me, look at this, look at this.
Yeah.
It's not telling a really good story. And I think everything goes back to the story that it's telling. Whether a piece of art is meant to state something, you look at all of like the practically painted, like old time, your Rembrandts, Van Goghs, like things like that, like all that amazing art that's been created and sculpted and built and restored and whatnot. Like people take great care to restore that stuff when it starts to break apart,
right? Because
of age and time and so on. And that to me, that's like, I love that kind of stuff. I'm not really an art exhibit person. Like I don't like go to the museums and be like, ooh, I got to see all this cool stuff, but I can appreciate it for what it was. And like, especially for the time it was done in, the statements that it made, the things that it makes people like stop and take notice of versus like the AI slop of today. Where it's just like, what can you generate that's going to catch somebody off guard and make them think, well, it's not really starting a conversation other than like, is this morally right? Or like, I've never heard anybody be like, is this art or not? Like, I'm sure that question's out there, but that's not the first thing that usually comes to mind. Right. People are more like, should people be doing this? Like, for instance, I just heard today that, Val Kilmer, oh my gosh, Val Kilmer's passed away last year, or 2024, I think it was. And his family is allowing the people that are producing his last film to use his voice and likeness for AI. Like they're actually allowing the filmmakers to use his voice, and it's just like, it's like something weird about that.
Yeah,
because it's not him. Like it's not him. I would not want somebody saying that I said something on my behalf if I had passed away.
Yeah, I think once you pass away, the chapter or book is closed, for lack of a better term or words. It's like I physically can't say anything else, and so therefore I don't think you should speak for me.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Yeah. I think people are at a point with AI caricatures and stuff like that now, or illustrations. They're at the point now where it's so played out that people notice it and they immediately like are sick. They're like, I don't even want to look at it. Yeah. But like, I think that actually begs to a bigger question. Like is the time and effort and access that you have to something, does that equate to the value of it? Right? Like just because let's say you spend $1,000 on it, like does that equate that it's more valuable than somebody who only spent 20 hours. Like they may have spent a grueling 20 hours, but it was only 20 hours versus the 1,000 hours. Before I kind of go more into that, I want to see if you have a similar thought process as me. Everywhere I go, I see art, and I'm not saying this in like I'm some profound like artist who can see art in the smallest of things, but it's more like the appreciation of what art is. It's the creation of something developed by a human being, right? And that can go anything from architecture, which is like a simple house, to just the basement, the colors that you choose, to like just the glasses that you're wearing. Like all of that stuff is considered art. I mean, comes a point where like people don't consider it as that because it's an average day use, like a vehicle. People don't often see it as art, but it is. People are literally designing sketches and like manufacturing it to look not just aerodynamic, but also look appealing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that takes thousands of hours to do. But now kind of go back into the time and effort things. Like, that's kind of like where you kind of have to decide. Is like, well, does less time mean that it's less valuable, or does more time equal more value, or is it just because you put effort into something that it equates to the value?
I think something is worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it.
Sure.
I honestly, like, I mean, I know people have paid thousands of dollars for a bottle cap that they remember from their childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Beanie Babies from the 1990s.
Yeah.
People were flying over to Britain to like buy them up because it might be worth something someday.
Yeah. But are they chasing it from a monetary value or for our actual like nostalgic value?
Yeah. I mean,
That's the question,
I think it goes back to what people are willing to. I think the question crosses a different line when you talk about artist versus audience. So an artist, I think an artist. Wow, I'm gonna learn how to talk in this episode. An artist is gonna put value on the passion.
Sure.
You know, like I don't think I've seen a guy on TikTok. He's like, I spent 27 hours sketching out this image or this drawing or whatever, and it's amazing. It's like it looks like a photograph, and you're like, you did that with pencil.
Yeah.
And he filmed the whole thing so he could prove that it was. You're just like, dang. But I've also seen people that like do like street art with chalk, and it like looks like, you know, Bugs Bunny paints the thing for you know, Wile E. Coyote paints the tunnel on for the Roadrunner, you know, and he like runs right through it because it's so realistic. Like that's what these look like. They're so realistic, they're tangible. You know, and I think artists are driven by more than obviously the term starving artist is a term for a reason. But I think despite, you know, our physical needs, I would say the artists are really driven by the passion to create. And that can kind of become addicting, you know, like once you, I mean, heck, I can tell you how many times I've been on a film set, and like there is something legitimately depressing about the end of a shoot.
Yeah.
When you're done and you're like, all that time and effort and all that work and everything it's over. Yeah. And I remember like myself, my cast, I remember a friend of mine, we shot this really personal project. I'll give you a link for it. It's a short film I did, kind of on the story of it was something I was struggling with my youngest daughter. And the story my mom had told me about was this story, and I kind of fictionalized it a little bit just to like make a short film based on it. But it really helped me process those questions I had. Like, how do you know when you're being a good parent?
Right.
Like, how do you know when you actually did a good job or whatever? And it was kind of an exploration. And, you know, the actress that I had asked to do the lead role is phenomenal. And she was going through similar things at the time. And, you know, I think for us, it was just a really big emotional lift, right? For us to go through to make that. And as soon as we were done, it was like we were all depressed because it was just like we poured our hearts and souls into this, and now it's like, oh, it's done. Yeah, we're done working on it. I mean, I still had to edit it, but like the shoot process is like so exciting, but it's like the shortest phase of all of it. Like you get one shot, maybe 2-3 takes, but you're done in a day. You're done. You're like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
so depressing. But like, it's just it's just part of it,
Right.
And I think when it comes to writing, I forget who said this now, but I've heard several writers that I've looked up to and podcasts I've listened to them on there say, writers love to have written. They don't love writing. They love to have written. And it's true. But like there's a bit of like pain that kind of comes along with finishing something, because like what it took to achieve that. And if you can click a button and create it, I don't think you're gonna have any pain being like, oh, I'll do it again.
Yeah, that is true. I do think, I mean, there are some people who are creative, and there's some others who aren't as much. But I think a lot of that is the lack of ability to actually convey what you want to tell.
Yeah.
Like from a business perspective, like a lot of people will design their own logos. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
they shouldn't design their own logos.
Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where they don't know how to do it, and they also don't want to. If you rewind like 15 years ago, like most people were making their own logos with like clip art or some variation, which then you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of, is clip art art? I mean, somebody
Right.
created that clip art. Somebody
Sure.
did. Is it good? That's subjective, but it's one of those things where people want to be creative. Sometimes they just don't know how to execute said thing that they want to create. Like, I'll never pretend to be a painter ever. Painting is hard. But like, will I do it for fun sporadically? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll do it. Could somebody consider it art? Probably not. but with AI, I think it's the same medium as like clip art, right? It's at that point where people don't know how to execute said thing. So then they're like, well, AI can make it for me, and I can use that. I don't want to like speak for everybody, but I'm sure that's some of it. And then there's other cases where people just like, they don't care and they just want to make it.
I will say this. So I have worked for somebody who has a client, and I was tasked with creating content for them when they had no content to create from. Yeah. And they were like, I want you to use AI to make this for me. And it took, I completed a 15-second clips, 30 seconds. It took me an entire work day to generate those 2 clips because there were so many iterations. Right. Like, in the background, there's palm trees. Where we live, there are no palm trees, so it wouldn't have made sense. Yeah. It just like, it was all this back and forth and all this time, and it was so aggravating. Yeah. And by the end of it, I was so sick of it, and I was like, I don't care. Like, like they don't care. So like, this is on them. Yeah. Because like, I have no say in this matter. Like, I am not the artist here. I am curating something. Right. And I feel like it was such a it left such a hole in my soul. I was like, I'm gonna charge triple the price to create this because it's time consuming, and it's honestly, AI is impacting more than just art. Especially in like in my business, like it takes hard drives, it takes water. SD cards, it takes water, power, electric. And AI is eating up so much of that stuff that it's really hurting businesses like mine, where it's like, I have to raise my prices because SD cards are so expensive. Like, I could have bought 2 of them for the price of one a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Yeah. So it's like, there's a lot of, give on our part that like, we don't have a say in it. So it's really hurting that part of the industry. Yeah.
It's also building like a fake expectation or a false expectation behind people. Like, for example, that you can edit a video in a high quality, high budget video in 20 minutes. When, I'm exaggerating, but any professional can tell you that like, if you want a high quality professional video, it's gonna take time, and it's gonna take money. But people with AI, it's building this false expectation that it's like, oh, you can just do it in a short amount of time. There's no effort that gets put into it. Even with websites, people are starting to build websites with AI now, and it's like you're kind of devaluing the effort and time and craft that it actually takes to build said site, as well as the like the knowledge behind it, right? Like you can't just and I think people, again, this kind of goes back to the logo example that I used. People, when it comes to art, some people just don't care. They don't see the value in it. Because I don't think a lot of business owners understand what a logo truly means for their brand. Like they just see it as like a website is something that you're supposed to have, and a logo is something that they're supposed to have, and that's it.
And honestly, a business owner doesn't need to.
Right.
They just need to trust the people that they put in charge of taking care of that stuff.
Right.
To really know that matters.
Right.
Because they're going to look and be like, I don't care. I need to serve my clients.
Yeah.
They don't care about their logo.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because that's their role, right?
Right.
So when they have like a marketing manager or somebody that they are leaning on to be like, hey, I'm trusting you to like follow up on all this stuff and know what all this stuff means and make sure that we're represented properly. They need to entrust that to somebody that's like, they know what they're doing.
Right.
You know, because I just had a conversation with a guy this morning that his branding on his site looks great. Social media stuff looks solid. I was like, dang, like out of everybody I've talked to, you were the most put together.
Yeah.
He just hasn't done any video content. It's all, you know, so I don't know if he hired an agency to like just create him a handful of like templates and he just does it himself or what, but like it all looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, you know, at a certain point, the conversation becomes less about, you know, art and AI, and it's more about like, what is the feeling? Does it feel honest? Does it feel genuine? Like, you know, you're talking about an AI can edit your video in 20, you know, in a minute and a half. It's like, I would beg to differ. I would say an AI can probably cut your video in 20 minutes, but editing is a feeling. You know, art is a feeling, and I feel like AI can't quite capture that.
Yeah, no.
Just like AI doesn't understand how gravity works.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't understand how there are only 5 fingers on a hand sometimes. I saw a video the other day, and it is like the quintessential AI video where it's like this girl, she is in a line of other girls on this high dive on this cliffside. I don't know exactly. I don't remember what it was, but she like is nervous and like it always is communicating normal video, and then all of a sudden she steps out onto nothing,
right?
And then draws her legs up and then begins to fall off of a cliffside at a very decreased speed, and then slowly gains speed. And I'm like, that's not how gravity works. My brain was like, this is not real, you know? So like, I am hopeful that AI in that sense, in the visual medium is a passing trend. Like anything, like with green screen, when it came out I mean, we've had green screen forever, but like when green screen became like a primary source of filmmaking back in like 1999, when George Lucas did the prequel series, and really like filmed everything on green screen. And then everything became filmed on green screen up to like the Avengers. We're going to eventually realize that AI is a tool to help us and help us harness certain things versus just replacing things because it's faster.
Yeah.
Doesn't always mean it's better. I mean,
true.
For crying out loud, like I use AI a lot because I need it to like transcribe, like take a transcription of my meeting, give me action items, what I need to send to the client as soon as we're done meeting, a proposal, whatever. The first thing is like, hey, today is Friday, the 19th or whatever, and it gets the day wrong. You're just like, no, today is not. That's so wrong.
Don't you have access to the internet? Like
I know. It's like tomorrow is Friday the 21st. I'm like, today is Friday the 20th. Like, out of all the things you can get wrong, you can't get that right. Like, how am I supposed to trust? If that were me, if I were the worker that was sending that to the boss, I don't get fired. Like AI gets a pass because it's stupid in one little area. No, I don't. I'm never gonna just trust it to be like, hey, just make art for me.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you.
Did you see Coca-Cola ad
Oh,
that they were like, hey,
yes.
they were so proud of it too. They're like, hey, we used AI to create an ad, or like an ad, and
It
took
only
us
took us 96 hours.
96 hours. I think it was like 90,000 prompts, and it was like, you realize that you could have paid living people for that,
I
paid
know.
them for it,
Yeah.
and they could have got it done in less time
Yeah.
than that. Like,
Fantastic.
doesn't make any like I think there's instances like those you're forcing yourself to use it
Yeah.
in places that it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't fit there. It is at a very premature
Yeah.
stage, and it doesn't make sense to use it.
Yeah.
I do think that in this modern age, the need for art has changed. Whereas like in the 1600s, people created for multitude of reasons. Like people created just because they were bored. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, people still create today because they're bored, but like there was a different need for art then.
Yeah.
Now it's just like everybody is an artist, everybody is a
Mhm.
creator. Like, and it's oversaturated. More or less in like a good or bad. There's kind of
Mhm.
like up in the air in terms of like good or bad, but it is, there's art is everywhere, and it's so prominent compared to how it used to be.
Mhm.
I don't think it's funny because I don't think the art of the past could keep up with the art of today. Like if you had told Leonardo da Vinci or Van Gogh to make art consistently every single day, like to the extent that people were making content today,
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to do it. I think it's
Yeah.
just a different threshold.
Well, and I also think I think the problem, I don't want to say it's a problem, but so as a writer, I know the things that I wrote when I was younger versus the things I wrote when I was older changed significantly because I had a lot more experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the things that I would create when I was younger were so much different than what I create now.
Sure.
When I sit down now, like the things that I want to focus on are similar. Like I want to focus on light and shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to focus on texture. Like I love that kind of stuff. But those to me are like my personality really drawing to itself like what it wants to see versus like I think when I'm younger, when most people are younger, they just want to appeal to as many people as possible. And they don't really take the time to live their life to gain the experience they need to make the statements. Because some of those paintings that you're referencing, like they're actually making statements. They're standing up to authority. It's very similar to how comedians nowadays will make very politically charged jokes, or even satire, like SNL. Like they're very politically satirical, for a specific reason. It's always been that way.
Yeah. Did you watch
just a different
the
medium.
Dave Chappelle comedy?
No, I never did.
Watch that. He's always been a very like out there person, but his was very interesting. I liked it. It was really good. I thought it was funny.
But I think you can also tell, like in the same way, like in the same fashion, like art and film really go hand in hand of their films for the time, like what their themes are about. They're really like if you think of Night of the Living Dead, like the classic 1960s, like George Romero's classic. It was a lot about racism. In our country, and very fascinating study on that. But like, it was saying something. It wasn't just horror for the sake of horror. It just happened to fit in a genre, or to be wrapped in a genre that you could actually study those things without not being taken seriously. And so I think the art is just a way of expressing, and I found that to be true for myself. It's a way of expressing like a searching for answers. And I feel like when people just sit down and prompt out something that looks like art, they're not really processing anything. They just want to. I don't know what their agenda is really. I couldn't tell you. Like I understand. Like I think all of us have had the opportunity to be like, I could sell this as my own.
Yeah.
And I could make a lot of money probably fooling a bunch of people that aren't smart enough to know any different. But like, I wouldn't feel good about that.
Yeah. What effort
what's
did
the
you really?
point of that?
Yeah.
Like, what is it really trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when you have when you can do anything and like, like there's no art in that because there's not there's not anything learned or gained. There's not knowledge that's gained other than like prompting, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of that, if all computers were just to be shut down, now what are you?
Yeah.
Like
you're gonna have to...
I've seen people create amazing vistas in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a digital canvas. I've seen people create the same thing on an actual canvas.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I've seen people that are able to draw a perfectly round circle freehand.
Yeah.
Like that is an art.
Oh, 100%.
Like
100%.
I couldn't even do that with a template. You know, like I still can't do it.
Give me the shape tool. I'll just use the circle. Perfect circle done.
I know. It's crazy.
The major difference is that I think with art, the major difference is that nowadays, at least when you're like, from talking about from like a digital standpoint, you don't really stop to notice all of it because it's just so much. Like I think a lot of the times you have to really be like in awe from it. Like I think the overproduction of it has kind of desensitized us a little bit to art and like what it is. Because like I love all types of art. There's an early stage when I was going to college that like when I was just getting into design, everything infatuated me. I was like, oh, this is design. This is design. Like the street sign, the way that it's created and everything like that, like the typography, like the kerning and letting between this is off or it's on, or like look at the color contrast, like that. It genuinely fascinated me to a certain degree. And it got to a point where I would like tell people about it, and like average people who didn't really care about that, and like and they're like, okay, cool. And it's like, oh, but you don't see it, and they're like, I mean, it looks nice. I think that's also like a lot of like a big thing too, is like a lot of people, they know that they like something, but they don't know why, because they're never challenged to express why. And kind of like what you were saying before is like art should invoke some type of feeling, and if it doesn't do that, what was the overall accomplishment of what you were trying to convey, right?
And I think it also leads to the point where you are at risk of your audience, the public in general, being desensitized to anything being creative. I remember one time at my one of my previous jobs, I had this tissue box on my desk. It was like red sparkly. It was for like Christmas time. It was really pretty. It was cool. I'm like, it's a fun box, right? Yeah. But then it was emptied after, all the nose blows and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I just kept it there for like months later. And one of my friends who is a project manager that worked there, she came up to me. She's like, "Why don't you throw that stupid box away?" And I was like, because it's a piece of art. And she's like, "What are you talking about? It's a piece of trash."
Yeah.
And I said, "Watch this." So I basically started unfolding the box. It is one piece, and it's all folded up in this configuration to make a box. And I said, like, you may just see a piece of trash, but like, look at the artistry that went into making this box functional for us to use. And I happen to just like the way it looked on my desk. I've now ripped it apart, so I have to throw it away. But like, it was one piece of cardboard or whatever they're made out of. But like the art of like how somebody had crafted that template to cut that out, and like it was fascinating. And the glue here and there to make it structural so it doesn't like collapse. Like that's art. We're surrounded by that kind of stuff all the time.
I don't mean to cut you off. We're gonna take a quick little intermission here.
Ooh,
I need to go answer the door really quick, and we'll be right back in T-. You'll know if you ever know, because it'll be a nice little cut. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that little interruption. It was Spence's fault. What can I say? Do you remember what you were talking about? Because I don't.
Yes. Not at all.
Yes, not at all. Yes, I don't.
Not at all.
Well, in that case,
let's move on.
From the podcast or just from life?
From life.
Yes. I think I did say this a little bit earlier into the podcast episode, but I was kind of talking about the past of like how artists would create.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think sculpting, painting, drawing, and writing were due because of boredom, or do you think people were genuinely inspired? Like in that era, now we kind of don't really have. Yeah. We have jobs to fulfill our time, and other means to kind of fulfill our time. You have Van Gogh, Jonas Vermeer, Claude Monet, Carmen Herrera, and I found this woman yesterday, Halima af Klint. Okay. She's Swedish, and I was like, that sounded German at me at one point. It was the af Klint. Yeah, but like these were, af Klint was more recent than compared to like some of the other ones. But
sure,
I just, you don't have a lot to do, so I would just imagine that like, are you inspired, or is it just because you're bored? I think it's the inspiration portion, but
yeah, I think so too. I don't think it was boredom. I mean, I'm sure some people probably fumbled into things because they were like,
yeah,
I'm gonna go take a walk because I'm bored. Yeah, I don't know. I kicked a rock and it was a soccer ball, and I became a world champion soccer player. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to art, I feel like those people, I think it was to have an expression, to be able to express themselves. You think of like, gosh, like it for me every year around like Halloween, fall, Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I tend to get in this like I want to draw phase where I'm like I just want to like put pencil to paper.
Yeah.
Because I feel like and I feel like this is true, and I don't know if it's like a spiritual thing or whatever, but I feel like there are just certain things that like words can't really express that music can do very well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there are like. I have such an appreciation for like the piano. Like I think people that play the piano are amazing. I would never dare taint the world with anything I could try to produce on a piano.
Yeah.
But it does elevate my experience of listening to it when I can tell I'm like, oof, this was created for a reason because they needed to explore something to get something out that they just couldn't say. Even whenever you see those paintings of like people just in a park, like there is so much in there that like we have no idea what the intention was.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like just somebody that's just wanting to level up their skills, and it just happened to be in that painting. Maybe they're trying to recreate something that influenced them. Yeah. They want to, or a memory they want to hold on to.
Yeah.
Especially before they had cameras, and before they had a way of capturing music on a device you could listen to over and over and over again. They wanted to capture that experience, that moment, that feeling. And again, I go back to that feeling. Video editing is a feeling. It's an art form based on feeling. Like you just know when something feels off, when it feels right because you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked at the company, but I was in charge of their media design, and it was like in front of patrons. So whenever people would come in to the theater, they would if our goal was to not be noticed. Like our goal was to not be noticed. So if you noticed our content, then something was wrong because it was supposed to be so integrated into the story that it just felt like a part of it. It didn't feel like, oh, and now we're doing this. Yeah. Oh, and now we're doing that. It was supposed to be just a part of like if the media was noticed by the patron, like we've lost him. Yeah. We've lost him at that point.
Interesting.
And so like I think a lot of art exists just for expressing, what people are trying to capture, what people wanted to remember or relive, or it's that nostalgia. And I think it's really funny. Like you can kind of feel it in our culture today where like everything is based in nostalgia, but like,
yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily like a wrong thing. Like I think I've really gotten annoyed by it because I'm like, can we just create something new? But I think that those things, they take time. You know, I think those things take time to like you get your head around, like you know, like you get to a certain age when you're like, oh, I remember when I was this, you know, this age, and like I had Ninja Turtle pockets or whatever they were called. Like they were filled with ooze, you know. So like that kind of stuff can just take you back. There's a sound on TikTok. It's this weird, like, I think it's called Deep Ocean Theme or something, and it's this really somber sound, but every time I hear it I just go back to the 90s, and I'm like, I don't have any memory of this song, but it takes me back there for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
That's really interesting. There's an artist that came out with an album on February 9th of 2026, and officially their last album. Like, they'll probably participate in like doing like features on some songs here and there, but probably their last. He was like, I've told every story I've had to tell about this persona of a person that I'm portraying in these albums. I've told every story that I've had to tell.
Slim Shady.
Yeah. Yes. But he said that it took him 10 years to make the album. And in between that time, he's had like practice albums on like changing up his style and stuff like that. And the first playthrough that I had, I listened to it like when it hit midnight. I opened up Spotify, which kind of, it's a different era because you would have to wait for the release. You have to get the CD. You would have to
wait in line.
Yeah, wait in line, get the CD. Then you go home. Then you would have it in your car, and you know, etc. But I literally if I'm that excited about a particular artist or music, I will literally lay in bed and just sit there and just listen to the entire thing straight way through, no interruptions. Because normally nowadays when you listen to music, you listen to it while you're doing something else, or you're driving and you're listening to it. So you're never really focused on the actual music. And so like I listened to, I think he had 2 tracks. There were 2 discs. And it was about like an hour and a half long. So I listened to it. It was like 2 a.m. by the time I went to bed. And when I went to bed, I hate admitting this, but like when I listened to it and I was kind of just like letting it digest, I genuinely was like, I cried a little bit. I was like, I can really tell the amount of time and energy that he put into this. Like, so the first disc was like 29. It was labeled Intro 29, and the Intro 29 was from his perspective at 29. So he wrote that at that time period, and then disc 39 was him at the age of 39, and you can tell how his music from then to kind of there kind of transitioned, and it's different. And I've never felt that. I mean, I've always been very passionate about music. I love music. But that's probably the first album that I've ever been that like emotional over. But that, for me, I think kind of, and also relating to what you were saying, artists sounds so like cliche, but artists struggle. Like, struggling is part of the art. Putting like when people can actually resonate with your art and see that the time and effort that it took to put into something like that, because you don't just gain those skills. Some people are gifted and they can draw, or they can paint, but you're not day one you is not as good as day 3 billion and 2 you. Like, you're on a completely different level.
You change. Everybody changes.
Absolutely.
I know when I premiered my short film Frayed at the Lancaster Film Festival in 2018, I think it was. Such a weird viewing experience. Like, it was that passion film, that, you know, passion project that we had worked on, and we were depressed when it was done. And I remember I was so mad because the film that played before our movie was this like. It was a comedy, and it was about these aliens that were blue, and not Avatar. It was before Avatar. but it was like a sex comedy with aliens, and it was really disturbing and not funny. Nobody but the crew that made it was laughing, and everybody else was there for drama, and it was just an awkward, like, I don't know why they put that film in the rotation before our movie.
Right.
And then our movie started, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is like such a horrible viewing experience, because like we have like kids in the audience, because like it's a family film, not like a family film, but like they have like younger people there because we're like, they wanted to see what we had done, and
Right.
family members, and we're like, oh, you just watched this terrible movie with these like aliens doing like horrible things to people and making obscene jokes and whatnot. Now we're like going to depress you for 15 minutes with this lady's struggles. And it was really interesting. Afterwards, they invite all the filmmakers to come up, and it's like a talk back session. And so the first person, I don't remember what their film was. I think it was like a 10-minute documentary or something. And then that troupe came up, and we were supposed to go down the line and just talk about our film. And so they went, and they were just there for whatever reason. Like they weren't really there to like create art. They were just there because like, we made something funny, and you could tell, and they were the only ones laughing. And and then they opened it up to the crowd, and I was the only one that got asked questions because of the film.
Right.
And this one lady, I'll never forget this was such a amazing moment for me. I was like, as an artist, it was like, that meant a lot to hear that comment. And she said, I have a question about whoever made that film, Frayed. And they all looked at me, and she's like, how did you write that? Because it felt like you had lived that experience. I told her like it was based on the story that my mom had lived, but I was going through a struggle with my daughter, and like just figuring out like, how do you know that you're doing a good job as a parent? And
Right.
that film was my proposal to that universe for that question, and it resonated with, like, she was crying, like she was in tears, and she was crying, and she was just like, and she came up to me after the Q&A. She was like, that was so amazing. She was like, thank you for making that film. She's like, you have no idea how much I needed to see that and to hear that message. And I was like, wow, okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Like, I mean, it cost me $300 to make it. It wasn't a lot. I called in a lot of favors on that film.
Yeah.
But we got to make it. We shot it on a red, first time filming on red. And, it was such a great experience. To me, it was a practice in multiple facets. It was, one, I wanted to tell a story because I was struggling with something. Two, I wanted to tell a story with as few spoken words as possible. Like that, I really wanted to make a silent film is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I had to have some dialogue just so that the point was conveyed. And then, three, like, I just wanted to be able to create something that was like really high quality, and the crew loved the story. They wanted to create it with me. So we did that. And so we won, I don't think we won an award for that, but we got into the International Film Festival here in Lancaster, and a couple others. I don't remember. We submitted to like 15 and got into like 5, I think, but, it was awesome to hear that kind of feedback from someone, and I got to show my mom the film too, which was really cool. And my daughter was there and got to see it because she knew that she was struggling with anxiety at the time. And I'm just like, how do I know I'm doing a good job at this? But to see my mom's reaction to it, was really cool. I'm like, obviously, Mom, I know I made some things up in here just for creative license, but it helped convey the point a little bit more poignantly versus I mean, real life is boring. Honestly, it really is. The lessons you learn or not, and how we convey those, I think, is what teaches people I remember when I was younger, my mom, I always say I was raised by my mom and her friends,
Right.
Because my dad worked nights, and so he was always asleep during the day for the most part until dinner time. So when he would go to work, my mom would have her friends come over. They'd play dice. They would chat all night long. It was sometimes annoying, but I always say I was raised by my mom and her friends, and I would hear them talk about like, oh, if I could do life over again, I would avoid this, this, and this. And I always took those things to heart because I'm like, this is somebody sharing their experience with me that like, you can't pay for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, they've lived some stories you're just like, you can't make that up.
Yeah.
Like, they're crazy stories. And as I've grown up and, people are drawn to drama and,
Oh my.
they create it for themselves all the time. But like as an artist, like how you interpret that stuff and what you choose to do with that, I think really says a lot.
Yeah.
And, to me, I wanted to create something that really explored that, and helped me understand it better. And that's what that film was for me. It was kind of practice of like, okay, like I'm struggling with something. And I think that's, going back to your question about like, why do people paint back in the 1600s or, before film cameras? Why did they paint pictures of scenery or sculpt or do any of that stuff? I think it was to explore those deeper feelings that we have that we're just not quite sure how to express them. Like what happens when you die? What happens, what happened? Why did this person die over this person?
Right.
Like why did it shoot? Like it's like kind of like a tornado. Like they don't really go in a straight path. Sometimes it can like zoom all around and it hits this house and not that house, and you're like, why do these people suffer?
Yeah.
And so I think for us, it's always just been a question of exploration. Art has always been an example of that exploration of those questions. And so I feel like being able to like, it doesn't answer them, but it really helps you get them out.
Oh, 100%. I do really appreciate when artists, they refuse to give any type of meaning to their art, like because they leave it up for the person to decide what that is.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, well, I just look at it and I don't feel anything. It's like, well, then you don't feel anything.
Well, it's not for you.
Yeah, it's not directed to you, and not all art is created for everybody.
Yeah.
It will hit the people it hits.
Yeah.
Hard. And then it just won't do anything for some other people, and that's fine. Art doesn't necessarily have to be the end all be all. Like everyone has to understand what it is, and but I don't think that's what art is even supposed to be. Like I think it's supposed to help you relate, and to whatever. But I guess what it also kind of like it pinpoints is that everyone's going through a different season of their life, and like there are instances where you, in one chapter of your life, you may not be experiencing whatever this artist is trying to convey. 10 years down the road, you may see it again, and you're like, then you can finally relate.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I really like Banksy. Banksy is like a very common modern artist. Probably the only modern artist that I really even know.
Yeah.
But I did fall in love with his work like back in college, because like he was very different than an average artist.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
But I think that there's sometimes people will latch on to an idea of what art is, or like they legitimize one and not the other. Like this was like a point that I kind of looked up, or I used AI to help me generate some like topics and ideas or some points rather. But it had mentioned like film photography versus phone editing, and then the other one was woodworking versus 3D printing. There was a third one, and it was actually digital art versus like painting. Or like painting versus digital art. And I was reading it, and I'm like, its description of why it was giving it to me, and I'm like, I don't agree with that though. Like, painting is hard, don't get me wrong. It's extremely difficult, especially when you're painting with oil. Very difficult.
I was going to say, because you have different mediums, you have, acrylic or you have oil. Those are two very different types of painting.
Yeah.
Like they don't react the same way.
No, you don't just pick those up and you just do it.
Yep.
But like, because I have more of a background in digital creation, Photoshop, Illustrator, stuff like that, I'm like, those are difficult to learn. I mean, if you've ever seen the illustrations that the people working for Adobe, they make these Photoshop masterpieces. I'm like, those aren't easy to make at all. Like, so like, I'm like, I don't think like digital art in general should be not demoralized, but like devalued, because some of that stuff is incredibly hard. Like I've spent years on Photoshop, and I could never do half of what some of these people are doing in Photoshop.
Yeah.
There have been times where I'm using Illustrator to create something because I have it in my head and I want to create it, but I can't actually get it out onto the canvas, and it never turns out the way that I intend it to.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of when I removed the digital art versus like painting, because I'm like, they're both difficult in their own regards.
Yeah.
They're very hard. And some people
and they both take skill.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of like, I guess that we can kind of explore these, but film photography versus like phone editing, people have made the most out of like using their phone to record anything. I don't know if it ever came out or not, and I'd have to look it up. But there was a guy, I think it was him and either a friend or his significant other. He was filming an entire movie from his phone. Like, and it was like recent too. It was like this past year or something like that. And like the scenes that he would show like after doing some of the editing, I'm like, this looks really good. Like, you almost wouldn't be able to tell that it was recorded on a phone.
Yeah.
Even when I don't know if you watched the actual conference, but Apple, I mean, it's probably like they've been doing it for probably a couple years now, but Apple's like, oh, this whole conference is shot on an iPhone, and like it looks pretty good. Like, I think it still takes technique and finesse to know actually how to like make it look that good.
Yeah.
I don't think like an average Joe could just go out there and do it themselves.
Yeah. I think there is I think there's something for the average consumer. There are buzzwords that tend to be related to, making something seem better than it is. So for instance, like, and I'm not harping on this person because I love him dearly, my dad, he tends to like say things without like thinking before he says it. He'll kind of like not put his foot in his mouth, but just be like, he'll say something without knowing it's factual. I mean, he's 82 years old, so he's a sprung chicken. But like, he'll say things and I'll be like, oh, Dad, that's not right. Like, here's the fact of the matter. He's like, oh, no, I know that. And I'm like, well, you don't, because you just said opposite of that. But what my point is with that, I think there are some buzzwords that people associate with like, oh, you shot this on an iPhone. It was just like, well, let's clarify. Like, in what context is a shot on an iPhone? Like, for one, like the movie that came out not this last year, but I guess it was last year, 28 years later. It was all shot on iPhones. However, they were rigged like crazy to use cinema lenses. And it's different if it's,
just the actual
you and your like popcorn butterfingers, like with your smeary lens. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen photos or videos taken on an iPhone with like crap on the lens, but it looks so gross. Everything's blown out in the highlights. You're just like, oh, it looks smug in here. Like, it's creepy.
It's like, wipe your lenses.
Seriously. But I think, an artist that is efficient in that world can take any tool and like, just because it wasn't filmed on a cinema camera or a Hollywood camera doesn't mean it's not art.
Right.
But there's something different. I think the intention there is like locked in. It's like, hey, like, we're filming a movie, so we're going to, or a conference or whatever, like they're just trying to show off. But like, they're putting it in the hands of individuals that can do something with that. I don't think your average Joe can just make, because for me, and I say that with respect to first time filmmakers, obviously, like that kind of stuff. You need to, like, again, sandbox mentality, trial and error, fail successfully, fail quickly, fail upward. When I
wait, really, you're supposed to fail? I've been failing downward this entire time.
I've been trying to tell you.
You just haven't been listening.
You haven't been listening. But like, so when I shot my first short film, it was awful. Like we said, like I talked about. But the key ingredient to that was I worked, and I didn't go to college. So a lot of the stuff I'm self-taught in. But the one thing I did learn that, not the one thing I learned, but one thing that was very important for me to learn that I could not, that I had to be in a specific environment to learn, was composition.
Mm.
And I feel like composition is, in the years that I've, my previous job where I was director for our studio, all of our camera people, they were like, what can I do to get better? The good ones are always like, what can I do to level up my abilities? That is my number one piece of advice. Learn as much as you can about composition, study it, recreate it. There's so many different things that you can learn from, a good study in composition. It's not just pointing your camera like a grandpa capturing a soccer game. It doesn't really do anything. It's just documentation at a certain point. The craft really comes in when like you position that camera, no matter the lens, whether it's an iPhone or a Red or whatever, a Panavision camera, like there's a specific way of shooting something that just makes it feel more cinematic, that makes it feel a certain way. Again, going back to feeling.
Yeah.
So, and I think even when you think of like painters of the days of yore, like, they chose a very specific direction, a specific time of day, where like it's hazy, and so they talked about like they explore like what light does when it comes through haze, when sunlight hits haze in the woods, and how the light bounces around. Like there's so many different things that go into that. Why do they make the painting from that direction? Why do they if you look at the Mona Lisa, it's like, yeah, it's a pose. That's like just how you would pose someone. But like some of these paintings, like Van Gogh stuff, like you can, like he would paint with like a 20-foot pole, with a paintbrush on the end of it. That's how he painted the lily pads. Like that's phenomenal. But like still, to do that takes talent.
Oh,
like
100%.
Not everybody could do that.
Just too much jitters. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I don't. So I feel like the tool doesn't make the art. The artist does.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like going back a little bit to the whole conversation of like AI. It's like, no matter how far AI gets, I think it'll always require human input. And the human input should be as intentional as possible. It's like, if you are going to create with it, use it for inspiration, right? Like if that's the only thing that you can have to kind of like spitball with, refine it so that way you can actually so it can actually help you with generating ideas or like generating inspiration.
I mean, if I was going to pitch like a $500,000 commercial to like Nike, I would definitely use AI to generate storyboards to be like, here is the tone. Yeah. But I would never move it past that. Yeah. Like I would not generate video from it to be like, here's what your commercial is. Yeah.
But if Coca-Cola can do it, then then why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah. Well, and I think, to be honest, like you have to look at that Coca-Cola ad too and be like,
it wasn't great.
They also had to go back in and paint in things or paint out things, like they had to, I believe, I don't know if this last one, but I know the one before they actually had to go in and put on the Coca-Cola logo, because like AI doesn't do good with that kind of stuff.
No,
it really doesn't.
Yeah, there's so like I didn't have a lot of time one day, and I was creating a thumbnail for the last podcast or 2 podcast episodes ago that I put out, and it was with the one with my uncle. And like I said before, he was a barber, and so like I had like a funny idea to like make both of us bald in the thumbnail, and I was running out of time because I had a lot of stuff to do that weekend. So I was like, I'll make the rest of this stuff, but I want to see if AI can actually just remove the hair. Yeah. And I'm also learning Pixelator Pro, so I'm not as efficient with it as I was with Photoshop. So it was kind of difficult to do. So I was like, hey, can you make these 2 subjects in this thumbnail bald, just remove the hair, keep the faces, etc. It couldn't do that. It kept changing the faces. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you changing? I was like, I did it like 3 more times. Like, do not change the faces. Change the faces. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'll just do it myself. I'll struggle through it. I'll barrel through it. And it's just things like that where it's like, I'm a firm believer, at least with like this type of craft, I would much rather do it myself and do it the way that I'm going to do it then have AI do it. If it's gonna
Yeah.
look like crap, regardless, I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of having you
I'd
do
rather
it.
be responsible for the crap than AI take credit for it.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
also just like, if you're just not gonna, like, if I have to put in like X amount of prompts just to do what it's the same amount of effort, in my opinion. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just writing, and when I can just learn the actual program myself and then do it.
You know the one thing that I have seen that and this is generative AI I'm speaking about specifically in Photoshop. So at my last job, we did a training series, and we wanted it to look like a comic book. And to do that, we did not shoot video for it. We just shot stills because we wanted it to be more of like graphic novel style. And it was about violence in the workplace. And so this is all taking place at a convenience store, and we took photos of everything, and I think we did most of them against green screen, but some of them we did like on the actual set, and we had like some examples where the people, we actually had them walk in like they normally would. We would take the pictures like as if we were a camera, but it's obviously a lot more stuttery, so it looks a little bit more vintage or feels like it's a flip book versus a comic book page.
Right.
And so what I had to do is I would have to go in each picture. I would have it select the subject, the person, which it did a really good job at, and then I could isolate them on a different layer. But then I had to remove them from the background. So I would select that subject layer, turn that one off, go back to the background layer, and I would expand the selection, and then to have AI just fill in that space behind them.
Yeah.
And it would work about 90% of the time.
Right.
But there were certain times where it would like replace them with another person that was a lot smaller and uglier. And you're just like, wow, what is that? Like,
why are you doing that?
It was some creature. That was a humanoid creature. There was one specifically. We had one of my friends, Nick. He was in a car and he was holding his phone like he was on speakerphone with somebody who was supposed to be delivering something in his car, like a DoorDasher or whatever. And he's supposed to be on the phone with the client. So I selected him to remove him. And I'm like, I don't know if AI is going to know how to fill in this background. And sure enough, it put this really, really tiny elderly person in the car. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, it was like just so uncanny. You're just like, oh, this is not Nick. This is not even like, this is some weird hybrid puppy human hybrid that's sitting there. It was so creepy.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's where I have seen AI is really good. Whenever you have to do a lot of one thing, it can be okay at filling in some blanks. Sometimes it's like, why did you add a bar in the middle of? You're like, what was the thought process?
Is there an orange laying in that? I don't.
Yeah, sometimes it would do that. It was like, oh, I just want you to remove the subject and just put the floor in the wall. And I was like, and here's a bowl of oranges. You're like, why?
I didn't ask. What?
Sure, why not?
You're like scrolling back through your prompts. You're like, I didn't say anything about. Oh, am I okay?
Yeah, I did have a really funny idea for a what's the purple app called? I forget the name of it. I want to say Discord, but that's not right.
Discord is purple. It has a little face in the icon.
Is that where people stream? Twitch.
Twitch.
So
okay.
I had this idea for a great Twitch channel.
Yeah.
And it would be called Generative Disaster.
Yeah.
And it would basically, you would download a stock photo from Adobe. And this was when Adobe would allow you to have unlimited like AI prompt stuff. But basically you take a stock photo from Adobe, and then you would take it in Photoshop and you zoom and you shrink down the image, and then you start selecting areas and you say, add this in here for generative AI. And it starts producing until you like get, like, we did this one day. We actually got in trouble at work. We were laughing so hard, like doing this, but like we like turned this like living room into like a museum, and then it just got like more bonkers the more we zoomed out.
That's funny. That's really funny.
It was really fun. I was like, this would be a great show. You know what I mean? A generative disasters or something like that.
That kind of reminds me of have you ever seen these are like not hyper realistic, like really, really detailed illustrations where like People sometimes actually do it on an iPad. Where they'll start off in like one thing, they'll zoom in, they'll get into like a window, they zoom in, and it's like a person living in the living room. I'm like, you guys are insane.
It's
like
crazy.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy how many times they zoom in and I'm like, oh my gosh,
there's
it's
more.
Still going.
There's a buddy of mine at
is that Procreate? Is that
I think it was Procreate. Yeah.
Okay. That's wild.
There was a buddy of mine in college who wanted to explore with doing something similar to that, and he did really well. I think he did like it was like a pencil that was a building, and on the top of the building was the eraser. But if you zoomed into the eraser, it was like people playing tennis or something. I'm making stuff up because I don't remember the entire thing, but he did a really good job on it. That was like years ago.
That's crazy.
One final question for you though.
Yeah.
At what point does a hobby become art? Or do you even consider a hobby an art unless you're? I mean, I guess art painting is a hobby, but
yeah. That's a really good question because I feel like I think I probably started a lot of different art forms that way of just like as a hobby, and I think I'm guilty of like wanting it to become an art too fast before I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So I try to like, again, that's a perfectionist in me. Like, I don't know how many times I've started a journal, whether it was a writing journal or a drawing journal or a story journal. And I get so frustrated because like I messed up.
Yeah.
And like now it's corrupted. So like the whole journal is just sitting there like 89% empty.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I would say when you're passionate about it, I would say like when the passion kind of overtakes and like you can't wait to get home to do that thing, I forget the exact phrase, but I remember somebody saying, fund your dream job with your day job. And like whatever you come home to do in the evening, if it's
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. It just reminded me, sorry.
Don't quit your day job.
No. There was this meme going along. There was this there's this woman, these two women doing a podcast, and and she's like, I heard this really, really cool thing before. You've always heard the term love your job, but job your love. And that's the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, job your love, and I'm like, oh my god, please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my word.
Couldn't help but to say that. But
yeah, because I think a lot of people, I don't think anybody. I'm sure there's a very few amount of people in the world that go to their 9 to 5 and are just in love with it.
Yeah.
You know, I think people really want the freedom to do stuff, and I know like at a certain point, like when it becomes a business, it stops to become art to some people.
Sure.
And that can definitely be true. But I would say like when you're I mean, I think all art is really a hobby until you make it your life. Like I think art is a safe place to explore. Art can be a safe place to explore, because I have explored sculpture. I've actually done clay sculpture. I've done welding sculpture. Like, wow. I've done all different kinds of stuff. I've done lapidary, which is semi-precious gemstone jewelry.
That's cool.
I've done still life sketching. I've done portrait sketching. I've done like a lot of different kinds of art forms. I've done music. I tried to play the trombone. It didn't work out so well. I love the drums. I love playing the drums. I'm not very good at it anymore. It's been too long. But like for me, it was like I tested the waters on everything to see what would really, and you'll come back to the thing and it will draw you back. And like, I can't say how many times I've quit filmmaking in my life. I really couldn't. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I remember getting my first laptop, and it was a very old laptop at the time, ancient now. I think it was a PowerBook G3, I think is the right one. It was this black, massive laptop, but I could load Final Cut Pro on there when it was on disc form before it was actually Final Cut Pro now.
Right.
And I could edit off of it, and I could edit DV footage for my stupid little Handycam. And every time I got like one step forward and all that stuff, I felt like there's always something pulling me back.
Yeah.
And I've recommended this book several times to people, and I think it's something that it's very important for artists to listen to or to read. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I think I might have read that. Actually.
I actually bought a copy of it for all of my team members at my last job. So when I was in charge of the production team, I bought a copy for everybody. And he talks about resistance. Resistance is the biggest chapter in that whole book, and it's the biggest theme of that book, where, you know, anytime you make a public declaration that you're going to do something, no matter what it is, whether it's an art, whether it's curing cancer, hiking the Oregon, you know, the Appalachian Trail, you know, living out of your van from Oregon to California, or from Oregon to Florida, or whatever, like the universe is going to attack you.
Yeah.
Like you're going to feel the resistance as soon as you say it. You know, going into business for myself last year, it was like, well, I'm going to paint a big target on my back, and here we go. You know, and it's going to say, like, how badly do you want this? Like, truly, how badly do you want it?
Yeah.
You know, things are going to get tough, and, you know, you're going to get to that moment in your journey where you're like, I'm down to the last few dollars that I have. I don't know where the next job is coming from. You know, how badly do you want this, and how much are you willing to sacrifice to have it?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's the question that will then determine whether it's a hobby for you or if it's art for you.
I love that. I 100%. I completely agree with that. I'm experiencing a little bit of that right now. Cause like I said, I'm technically unemployed. I mean, I'm my own boss, but like, I had said to my mom the other, because she had asked me, she's like, how long are you going to keep doing this?
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. She's like, well, cause I mean, like, you know, obviously it's not, your funds aren't going to last forever.
Sure.
And I had said, I think the one thing that I realized was, I'm really good at improv, like impromptu. Like I have to figure something out. Like the recording's not working, I'll figure something out. Like that's pretty much what I've had to do for like the last like 15, 20, I haven't been around for that long, but 15, 20 years of my life. Like I've had to like really just make it work. Like I'm like, I've had to, like, I may not have I may not have had a laptop that would be able to edit a 4K video, so I have to do this. Like even recording the podcast, like, I didn't have a studio quality camera, but I had good mics, so I'm like, I'll use the phone that's in my pocket.
Yeah.
Like what do I have at my hand to use? So I guess another word for that would be resourceful.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, I think when you get down, I think human nature in general, when you're backed into a corner in general, you really find out what you're capable of. Like do you continue to run from it, or do you attack it head on?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking, like trying to kind of harness a little bit. Yeah.
I know. I mean, you know, I started my business in July of last year, and I knew my job was coming to an end at the end of July. You know, and my wife, I had one job on the table, one job offer on the table that I could have taken, and it would have paid me a good bit of money. And I think I did kind of do a little Hail Mary to that one, where I was kind of like, I'm going to put my eggs in that basket a little bit, but I really wanted to go out on my own. Like, I was like, I'm just really tired of being employed by somebody else. I'm tired of being let go. Yeah. Like I've lost my job twice in 5 years, once to the pandemic and once because of an acquisition. And I'm like, I'm sick of being somebody's like, well, you know, you're here because we like you for now. Yeah. You know, and like, it bugged me. So I'm like, I want to do my own thing. You know, not that it's easy. No. It's not. No. You know, but I talked to my wife, you know, and I said like, well, like, what do you think? Like, you know, she was like, I think you really need to go out on your own, like all the signs are kind of pointing in that direction. And I think having, and even now, like, I'm not swimming in money by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not even like stepping on a few dollars. But like, just having that support and having somebody that believes in you and like knows, like, you're like, I was just talking to my mom last night where she was like, back in high school, like you were really good at like selling yourself, like knowing who you were and what you could do. And like, if somebody needed something, like you could sell that to someone, and she's like, you've been really good at sales. And I'm like, I have. That's a surprise to me. But then like I get on a call with somebody and I'm like, oh, I guess I am. Like, I'm not a master salesperson by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But like, I know how to communicate with people. I know how to, just see where somebody's at, where they want to go, and how we can get them there.
Yeah.
And it's really all about just relationship building. And whenever I do like I don't even really call them sales call. I call them intro calls because nobody wants a sales call.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be sold something. But I tend to give them a lot of free advice. Like yesterday I was on the phone with somebody and I said, I really think that your business would benefit from this type of content. Like you could even do it with your iPhone. And they were like, oh my gosh, like that's great to hear. Like I would like, I should definitely do that. And I've had some people that, even if they don't book with me or hire me to do something, like it's still like just friendly. I mean, you want to have a reputation of being a good person.
Yeah.
Before you're a good business, you really have to be a good business person.
Right.
And you have to be a good person before you can be a good business person. So yeah, I really feel like, in the long run, you're going to know that it's not a hobby for you anymore when like you're just called to do that thing. Yeah. Like it's one of those things you just can't wait to dive into it. You eat, sleep, and breathe it. And I think it's going to keep you up at night. For me, it's so funny. Anytime I've had a full-time job, I tend to, when I'm done with my full-time job, I would go do this thing. I would do this type of business, on my own without having a business really. Yeah. So I'm like, I've always been drawn to it, and even when I get done working, I continue to work because I'm like, I do love it. Yeah. I've been,
that's been pretty much since I've gotten a big boy job, and like I've just been doing this on the free in the back end. So now we finally reached the end of the podcast. Dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Give your hot take on art or you know what, we'll just leave it at that. Give your hot take on art. I was gonna go or give your hot take on art.
Oh my word. Yeah. Have I not already given my take?
You've given some spicy takes there.
Oh my gosh.
Just to make sure.
Okay.
Deliver us.
Okay. I would actually say my hot take on art is that everybody is an artist.
Wrong.
I had this conversation with my mom years ago, actually. Not all art belongs on a canvas. Not all art is actually something that you can watch more than once. I told my mom this before. I was like, I think everybody's an artist. She's like, I am terrible at drawing. And I said, but you're really good at sustaining life. I was like, I understand. Like, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. Like my mom had less money than that when she was growing up. She used to eat like ketchup sandwiches and all these like terrible, like depression style meals, but like they literally had no money. Yeah. But I was like, and she's like, I'm not, it was more about creativity, I guess. But like, she was like, I'm not really creative. And I'm like, Mom, like, yeah, you kept us alive and you had to be super creative with your money. You had to be super creative with like how to buy us clothes, as a kid. Like there were 6 of us in the family. I was the youngest by 11 years. So when they all moved out, it was just me, but it was still really hard for them to like afford to take care of our family, and I just remember like my mom, like, I think she taught me about resilience. She taught me about, she taught me about being able to take that next step, whether you're fearful of it or whether, whether it's going to work out or not, you don't know. To me, that's what art is all about, is betting on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and not caring what other people are going to think, and, I think everyone is an artist in some regard. It doesn't matter if you drive truck for a living, if you work at a steel factory, if you pave roads. I think there is an art form that everybody can enjoy. I think a lot of people don't, because our culture has built up this status level of, celebrity and, worthiness related to what field you're in, or what, privileges you have. And I would say, growing up without a lot of money, like, we got really crafty.
Yeah.
We learned how to, like, forage and do all those things. Like, and again, I don't want to say that I grew up poor. Like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that that's a negative against my family, my mom, or anything like that. Like, in fact, it taught me a lot of great, valuable lessons, like street smarts, that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, had I not, seen how my parents really did some financial acrobatics to, like, stay afloat. And, like, when my mom got sick when I was in junior high, like, they had to, like, sell off our camper and our boat, and, like, there went all of our summer vacation stuffs. But, like, without summer vacation, we still had a great time.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a requirement,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people get too caught up on being viral.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about being personable,
Mm-hmm.
and being one-on-one, face-to-face with people.
Yeah.
Interacting digitally, it has its place, especially in our society today, but it's not the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's value in learning how to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like just being able to have a conversation, and being others centered. I think that's a really big part. I think that's an art form.
Yeah.
If I'm not being too candid, being personable is an art form, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to be personable.
No, I'll ask you this. Do you think I'm a yapper? Do you think I can talk a lot? Or do you think I'm a kind of a quiet person?
I don't really know you that well. No, I mean, I wouldn't call you a yapper, but I think you I think you have a very good, educated insight into, like, how to get to know somebody, how to converse with people, and how to draw out really interesting questions and answers from them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I lied.
No,
no, I'm kidding.
You don't know what I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah, reverse all these answers.
delete. No, the reason why I asked that is because growing up, I was the kid who I wouldn't really talk to. I wouldn't go out of my way to talk to people just because I wasn't comfortable with that yet. I was the type of kid that would be off in the background observing the other kids. And then when I felt comfortable enough to go interact with them, then I would go do that. But by the time I would do that, it was time to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
So, and that was like a good chunk of my life up until I really started working at like a restaurant and like a little deli. And I started working retail. And what those two things really kind of taught me was just kind of like how, or not, it opened the door to talk to people. Because like it can be very nerve-wracking talking to people. But being in those industries allowed me to like realize that like, oh, talking to people is just, it's like a normal thing. You're supposed to be able to talk to another person. And so like I asked that question to people a lot because a lot of people think that I'm extroverted. I'm like, I'm really not. Like I would rather be at home sitting on the couch playing video games or just doing something completely else other than, going out. But
Right.
I have grown the appreciation within this past year of connections.
Yeah.
I see my mom and I see my uncle, and my mom works, like, she knows a lot of people. She's grown up in Lancaster for a while, and my uncle, he's, like I said, he's a barber. He knows a lot of people as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I've noticed is that, like, if they were to ask somebody to help them, multiple people at that, like, hey, I need help at the house to do X, Y, and Z, they're there to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's not for free. It's more for, like, hey, like, help me, and not as like a trade-off thing. They're more than willing to help.
Yeah.
But as like a show her appreciation, she does X, Y, and Z to show her appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've realized that, like, I'm like, you guys, you both have a lot of people in your life that are more than willing to help you,
Mm-hmm.
just because you've built that rapport and that connection,
Yeah.
and not because they're looking for anything in return. And I was like, I think part of life is connecting with people,
Yeah.
but also when you're trying to have a business, it's connecting with people. Like,
Yeah.
just, life is literally just that.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's why I'm happy that I've kind of altered, by force, I've altered this podcast to be more or less about, like, what my hobbies are, and more about, like, what the other person is
Mm-hmm.
interested in. And like I said earlier, it does many things, but it's helped me actually ask better questions for people, so I can actually be more engaged with they like, rather than being more like surface level. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just a normal conversation, or
Right.
I don't know if you've ever had those dry conversations with people where they just don't really give you much, but it's
And it goes
because
quiet really quickly.
yeah, it's like, I gotta go.
That's great.
But I think the first time I realized that this was actually helping me, it's almost like exposure therapy, but
Yeah.
I was out at Annie Bailey's with some friends, and one of my friends, Paris, she was showing us, like, this knitting thing that she was doing. I have no interest in knitting at all,
Sure.
but I was like, that looks really cool. And I started asking her more questions and more questions. I'm like, oh, did you do this? And did you do that? And my friend next to me, Isa, he looks at me, he's like, and then he asked me later, he's like, it seems like you know a lot about that. I was like, I know nothing about that. I was just asking your questions.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like engaging in conversation.
Yeah.
But from his perspective, it looked like I knew what I was talking about. I was like, I really don't.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first time, like, I noticed that and obviously relationships are give and take. Like, you can't just give to somebody else and then expect them to want to, and have them take, because then eventually you're gonna want to stop doing that.
Yeah.
But that's how you build better relationships, where people actually want to help you.
Yeah.
And I was hoping you would help me end this podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I have one story about that too. So a really big thing for me to learn, and conquering fear, really, when talking to people, is, number one, most people are more concerned about them than you.
Absolutely.
And that is no fault of us. That is a very human thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all very much in the same boat when it comes to that. We all love talking about ourselves versus other people, or about their problems or whatever.
Yeah.
When it comes to business, that's a really good thing to learn, because I could tell the people, like, hey, I have this kind of camera and this kind of audio gear, and they would be like, I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah.
I just need you to shoot a video that does this so I can get more customers.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Right.
So when you approach it, like, I know you don't care about me. I care about you though.
Mm-hmm.
And I care about your success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same thing goes for just being others centric.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you can put other people in ahead of yourself. I do weird social experiments like this sometimes. It's really weird. But back in 2013, I'd have my gallbladder taken out, and I wasn't in a lot of pain. Like, it did not hurt. I had gallbladder disease. I would have, like, what felt like really bad acid reflux attacks. And it was like, they're like, you need to get your gallbladder out or you're going to die. I'm like, okay, well, let's do that. So
when and where?
yeah. Well, I went to the hospital and they had done these CAT scans or X-rays or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent me home, and they're like, you're fine. I'm like, okay. And then like, I was literally in the shower, like after that, and the doctor called me back, and he's like, why did you leave? And I was like, because you guys sent me home. And he's like, no, you need to come back now. We need to take that out tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, it's serious. I was like, oh, wow. But point of that story is, when I got to the hospital, I was like, I had this weird idea. I was like, well, how about I try to make everybody else that comes into my room feel like they're the most important person.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nurses would come in. I'm like, how are you? Like, what's your name? And, I would talk to each person that came in. And more than one time, I was like, the person was like, are you sure you're not feeling well and you should be here? I'm like, oh, yeah, apparently I need my gallbladder taken out. But like, I wanted to make their day, and I wanted to make them feel important and valued. And I feel like that is a job that is very thankless,
100%.
And so I'm like, wow, this is a fun experiment. And it was so cool to see like the relationships that were instantly built, and like they were so excited to work the shift and check in on me, especially when I was then in pain after the surgery.
Yeah.
They would come in and be very much about me, but like it was very much a give and then receive.
Yes.
Not take.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a different approach to, relationship, when it's less about giving and taking and more about giving and then receiving.
Yes.
It's like, you can speak into that person for a day or so or whatever. And if you make it very much about them, they seem to have a great time,
Yeah.
but then when it's your turn to receive, they're very easily they'll give, and
absolutely.
so, and you don't really it doesn't require much from them because you've already put in all the work.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. My buddy who I started this podcast with, he had said to me, this was like years ago, and I don't remember what the context was. But he's like, people love talking about themselves. People love it.
True.
And then the other thing is, Jamie, she, so she changed my perspective on like how you would approach a website, right? At least the homepage.
Yeah.
And I had always perceived it as one thing until she changed my perspective in this exact way, which was, I would say like, oh, like you want to say like, oh, who you are, what you do, and who you are, what you do, and like what you offer, like, right? And she's like, no. I was like, what? And she's like, people don't care. Like like they're there for them. Yeah. Like they're really there. You're marketing for them. How quickly can you give them the information that they're looking for that can solve their problem? Not, oh, when you were founded and like all this other stuff. Like if they're truly interested in you, they will look at that after, but they're there predominantly to see how you can solve their problem.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Yep.
On a website.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you Googled something and had to wade through ads to get to the answer? Yeah. It's so aggravating.
The most frustrating instance of that for me is when I go to Pinterest and I'm looking for recipes. I am just there for the recipe, but the recipe is literally at the bottom, and they give you a nice little button to jump down to the bottom.
To recipe.
But there's like 50 ads, like especially on your phone, 50 ads, and you have to click out of all of them. They pop back up, and then you're just trying to get to the damn thing. And it's like, look, I don't want to know your whole life story.
When your recipe starts with, in the summer of 1972, my grandmother met my grandfather at the Shady Oaks Community Center.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want to get to the damn recipe about how to make your French toast or whatever.
I'm literally in the middle of making this thing. Please stop.
The wings are on fire. What do I do?
Wait, help. I don't, have you seen, there's this really funny guy on Instagram, but basically he sets up instances for AI to fail. And he's like, he puts a car behind him. And he's recording like doing the virtual portion with the camera. And he's like, what do I do? There's a car coming towards me. And and it's obviously somebody he knows in the car. And he's like, yeah, well, no, it looks like you can kind of just step out of the way. And he's like, no, but it's coming towards me. Like, how should I? And it just doesn't give him.
That's amazing.
I'll have to see if I can find it and send it over to you. But
that's so good.
There's another guy that will, he was like, completely different guy, and he was like, I want to go what's the closest car wash to me? And do you think it's easier for me to walk
You told me
there
about
or
that one.
drive there? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, like the closest one, it makes sense for you to just walk there. And he goes, well, why would I walk there if the whole point is for me to go wash my car? So
Yeah.
I don't even remember why I got into that topic. All I do know is that unfortunately, my friend, we have reached the end of the podcast where your body is going to be. Oh,
the end is near.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another episode of the LeisureHub Podcast. I have been your host, Justin, and alongside me, Spence. You can drop any plugs again if you want.
Sure. Yeah, you can look me up on Instagram at what is my handle? It's Spence from Sandbox. I think that's it. Yeah, Spence from Sandbox. We're doing everything over there. I also have Sandbox Studio. Sandbox.studio.pro is the other account for my business. You can check out all that we're building over there on Instagram. And it's been a pleasure doing this. It's been so much fun.
Of course, man. Check out his art.
That's right.
Because it is very good art, nonetheless. Even though it is like from a business standpoint and actually doing it to help customers and stuff like that, it is still art nonetheless, and it takes a lot of time to do what you do, and you don't get there overnight. I can tell you that.
Yeah, you don't.
So
you don't even get there in 8 months.
8 months, you're like, where am I again?
Yeah.
Why am I even doing that?
Why do I employ myself?
You know what? Maybe I will go find that job.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya. There you go.
Boom.
Which one did you like better?
Oh, I felt more relaxed on the second one, but the first one was good too.
I think I've noticed that happens a lot. People will.
I feel like I rambled.